Hi, Mara. It's Keith. I wanted to use this video to talk about figuring out the song This Masquerade. With any piece of music, the first thing you want to figure out is what key do you want to play it in. I've heard the song for years by George Benson, and I think it's in alto D. But I learned it and I teach it in alto A because that's how Sanborn does it. He's fun to copy. So for alto, it's an A minor scale. So most of your notes are going to come from these notes: A, B, C, D, E, F natural, G, A. That's actually an Aeolian mode, but you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that you're playing pretty much a C major scale from A to A. So your first now I've given you one of the first big clues is you got to figure out what key it's in. Where does it center around? And this particular version of Masquerade centers around A. Anyway, so it centers around A. So you got to figure out where does it start. Your biggest help in this is having the tune memorized. If you don't have the tune memorized, then you're going to have to go back to the video or go back to the CD or wherever you're getting the song from. It's crazy. That's better. Anyway, so let's say you're going to play it in A and you're copying Sanborn. Let's pull that up. So I'll go to my library and get David Sanborn, Masquerade, right here. All right, so now what if you don't know what the key is? That's always your first thing. So if you can't hear what the bass is doing, and many people can't, you have to keep fishing around. So I'm gonna play a whole bunch of notes and try and figure out what now just that part. Da 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 da. So da, where is da? Da, too low. No, da, no. Now, some people use a keyboard to transcribe melodies and to pull them off records. I don't do that. I just use the horn. But once you figured out the key, then the next you got to go note by note basically. So ba da. Okay, what's the next note? The next always is the next note higher or lower. That's always your first thing to think about. Ba da da. Okay, next note. Ba da da da. Now, if you fish around and can't find the right note, start with notes in the scale. It may go outside the scale at certain points of the song, but you want to start there and then go elsewhere. So I think in our lesson we went as far as now that part might be hard to figure out. You know it's higher, but how much higher? You can go up chromatically. No. It helps know your chromatic scale. Now the next note is lower. So I'll try notes that are lower in the scale that I gave you. No. No. That sounds right. If I'm not sure, I'll go back to the Sanborn track and listen and see. Now he plays it differently than I'm teaching it. Notes are the same, but he phrases differently. Everybody's going to phrase this melody the way they hear it. Okay, so it goes. And then E, go down to the next, go down lower, go lower. And you want to think to yourself as you're transcribing a melody, is it going higher or lower in steps or skips? Is it going a little lower or is it skipping notes and being lower than that? That's going to help you as you work on these melodies. You want to think if it's going up or down and how far. So now this is also where long tones come in. Believe it or not, I didn't do long tones for a long time, and then when I started playing, and by long tones I mean 8 counts in with the metronome on every note on the saxophone. By doing that over and over, I eventually got to where my fingers heard the right note, if that makes sense. I'd hear the note, and even if I didn't know what it was, my fingers had the muscle memory of that note, and you develop that over time with long tones. Okay, so that's B A, then it goes down to E. Now it sounds like it goes by steps, not skips. So it's E, D, C, D, E. Maybe I'm putting an extra note in there. So if you don't know, go back. Let's check it out. Also, it's not a bad idea. Go to the beginning of the song and count measures so you know exactly when he comes in with the melody. And I write, when I'm transcribing, I write down notes and I write down exactly what second the melody starts. So when I come back to the song, I can jump back in. Right on second 22 of the song. So that's one phrase. Okay, now what's the next part? Ba-da-bum. He does something really cool. He throws a little E flat in there as a grace note. But the basic melody is E, E, D, C, D, C, and then A, C, A, just like that. Now, if I'm writing this down and I'm not using notation paper or staff paper and writing the notes in, I'm just writing the names of the notes in. If the note's long, I put a long dash, I put a line over the note. If there's a rest or a break, I put a line. So like for instance, if the chords held a long, if the notes held a long time, I'll write down the note. So let's say it's an E and I'll put a long line over it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah. Now, if there's space in the music, E, 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 big space, and then F, I'll write the notes and put a space between the notes so I know there's space between the notes. This is just crude shorthand, but it's a way to start. Now, this is the second thing that he's playing. As where he starts. Now you have to figure that out. Now, is he going up by steps or skips? The first note sounds like a step. It's a note in the scale. And I think he goes up another step. Then he goes down. So up, up, ba 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 da. Go A B C B C. Now he has a jump. He has a skip. So you got to figure out how far. I'm just going to use notes in the scale at first, but I'm not going to do all chromatic. No. No. That's it. So A, B, C, B, C, G, and that's a long note. I think he goes up to A, then he skips down to E. These aren't steps, not a step, it's a skip. He's skipping over other notes in the scale, so that's how I would. And he comes back in on beat, or not beat, but second 44. So you might notate that to help you find it again in the music. Now it's important to notice when he's repeating something he's already done, because that's going to be helpful for you memorizing it. So you can say he's just playing the first thing he worked out. He does about the same. That's E, D, C. These are all steps in the scale. Now those are skips. He's going E. He skips a note and goes to D. He goes to C, sorry. Skips a note, goes to A. Then the ending part goes. We'll get Ba-da-dum. So he goes A, and he goes up a step. Ba-da-da, step to C, and he holds that a long time. Boo-doo-da-doo-da. Let me make sure I get that right. Now, what's important is for you to do this. It's much, much more beneficial for you to figure this out and go through this process than to copy what I'm doing, in all honesty. So that's what I'd recommend. A, B, C. Ba-do-da-da. So it's up a step, going C to D. Now here's a note that's not in that scale. This is a flat note. It's called the flat 5 because it's a lowered fifth within that scale. Now, if you didn't know how to find that, you have to look for it. So try the next up the scale. No, it's the wrong note. It's higher. No, it's too high. That's I went too high that time, so I have to go lower. So you have to know where you're at and which direction you're trying to go chromatically. So he really sits on that E flat. Ba-dum. Ba-boo-ba-bum. C. Now, one advantage I have that you don't have is that I have played chords for many years. So I've played the A minor chord thousands of times, which is A, C, E, and A. Actually, G's in there too. and A. So when I hear those notes, because I've played this for thousands of times, I'm just playing chord tones, but I've done that for many, many hours. That enables me to hear a note in the melody and go, oh, that's the third. I know which note that is because I played it so much. So it becomes easier for me. Just that last ending part to make sure we're good. That's nice. Now, when you transcribe, you start really understanding the genius of Dave Sanborn and other sax players that phrase very carefully. He's really placing every single note exactly where he wants it, and some notes he's putting an accent on, some notes he's ghosting, some notes he's scooping into. These are all called inflections, and they're ways to kind of spice up the melody. Sanborn's a master at that, just a master. So that's the A section of the song. Now it goes to the bridge where it changes keys. So that's a little more complicated. I think I'm going to cut the video off here. So to kind of summarize what I've said, number one, it's a good idea to learn to sing the melody with the person doing it, and that's very helpful because then you're able to memorize the right notes and you find them on your instrument. The second thing is become familiar with this made the dominant scale within the key. In this case, it's an A minor. It's an Aeolian with a lowered sixth and a lowered third and a lowered seventh. So become very familiar with that scale, so it's under your fingers and everything feels good. Number three, you're doing long tones on a regular basis. So what you're doing is you're locking those notes into your fingers and your body. So there's times I'll play a song and I'm improvising. I don't even know what chord I'm on. My fingers know the right notes. I mean, just from years of doing this. Then the fourth thing is you're doing it in little pieces, and you can notate on paper, music paper, or you can just write notes down and do nothing if they're short. Maybe put a dot if they're accented, and then a long line over the top if they're long. And if there's a space between notes, put a line between the notes. So you give yourself kind of shorthand, whatever makes sense for you as far as long and short and where the notes are placed. Now, as you go searching for the notes, you ask yourself, did it go higher or lower? Did it go a step or a skip? And that's your challenge. And if you're searching for a note, search chromatically or at least search on the scale. Don't I have some students that they try and find this note and they'll go, they go all over the place. It's crazy. If you're going to search, pick one note and go up or down chromatically till you hit that note. You know, if you hit the note, then you go, that's too high. So go down a little lower and so forth until you hit the note. All right, Mara, I hope this was helpful for you. And as always, I look forward to our next lesson. Be well. Thanks for coming to Practice with K Ride.